Bada bing. Does that mean we're low on battery? We're good? Yeah. Okay. So part of this is, I mean, for you guys coming into this, I don't know, I would imagine that some of you, I know some of you have older siblings that have done this course, or you know people that have done this, and you're getting horror stories, and this is going to be the toughest thing you've ever done in school. And there's, at some level, that may be true. You guys have been sitting here working through chemistry. You've been working through some of the other data analysis statistics. This is a challenging course. There's no question of that. But a couple of things about this. One is that there is nothing in this course that you guys cannot do. We have seen literally thousands of students go through this and be successful, and you guys have everything in terms of the ability to be successful that those people have had. So you may have heard, you may have gotten scared off, or you may have kind of like, I'm not sure about this. I'm not really a science person. I'm not really a math person. I don't know. You can do this. But there are some things that I think it would be really good for you to keep in mind as you go into this, because this is, you're kind of taking this up a little bit of a different level, as I was saying this morning. You know, you kind of have gone from sort of playing varsity 9th grade to being thrown to the college level in 10th grade. And that's a good thing, because what we hear consistently from the students that have done this course is that they were really well prepared for their upper level courses in high school and in college. So that's what we're here to do. So I may have answered a little bit about something I was just going to ask you guys to think about for a second. And the first, anytime you go into something like this, I mean, you guys are going through your school experience, and every year you have different courses. And, you know, nice thing about when you hit high school, you start having more and more choices of courses. But for us, obviously, this is a required course. You guys are all in this course because, you know, it's part of the requirement process for Blue Ridge. So I want you to think about this, and just real quick to talk about this at your table. And that is, as you go into it, it's really good to know why you are taking this course. I mean, why did we put this course here? And the answer is not to torture you. Okay, that was not the answer. There was a lot of thought that went into this course at this point in your high school career. So I want you at your table, just real quick, a couple of quick words on this. Why do you think we have this course plugged in right here? What's the purpose of teaching AP Biology at 10th grade in Blue Ridge? And the other section of this is, how do you think this course will help you in the long run? And I've given you a little bit of a clue on that, but take about 1 minute at your table and just talk about this. I'd be interested to hear it. Asia, why don't you talk with the folks behind you? Where's the rest of your crew? All right. So yeah, you can talk with these guys. So just scoot back. All right. You guys should be talking to each other. Why do we require this course of you, and what do you think you're going to get out of it? Why does Blue Ridge require AP Bio in 10th grade, and what are you going to get out of it? Okay, I want to just hear a few answers. First of all, on the front side of this, why do you think we require this course? What are some things that you think? What are some of the things that you guys talked about? Faith, what did you guys say? What did your table talk about? Why would we require this course? Anybody?
I said it was obviously that you also get this intro.
Okay, one of it is absolutely. This is so we're at the core of it. I mean, there's a lot of different course opportunities, particularly as you progress through Blue Ridge. And once you hit junior year, you'll have lots of choices of courses. But we are interested in getting students interested in science. That's part of the charter of Blue Ridge. And we have had a lot of students that have come out of this that have gone into scientific realms, whether it's biology based or not. They've gotten a big part. They've gotten kind of charged up about doing science. Okay, what's another one? Kate, what would you guys talk about? To challenge you and help you. I mean, this is, one of the things when we talk to you guys at orientation, why did you join Blue Ridge? To be challenged. This is a challenging course, and challenge is something that makes you better. So that's, and will help prepare you. Let's see, somebody else. Ava, what did you guys talk about? Absolutely. As a matter of fact, we were talking earlier about some of the graduates from Blue Ridge who have gone into some different science fields. Ms. Alton was sharing about one of our former students who's now the director of marketing for the National Corn Growers Association. I mean, kind of like, I mean, that's a big deal because there's a lot of corn grown in this country, right? And they're marketing it all over the world. Her interest for that came out of science and out of her interest in biology. So what else? Maybe one more. Savannah, what do you guys talk about as far as this? You will be, what the kinds of things that you're doing, the kinds of things that that everybody was walking you through this morning are the kinds of things that you will be experiencing, more and more as you go through more complex courses in high school, but also in college. So getting into this, I mean, it's big. One of the things about science classes is they teach you about processes, whether it's the process of scientific analysis or the process of experimentation. They also teach you how to get into unfamiliar language and unfamiliar concepts and terms. So all of this will be, really critical to you as you go through this. And it's helpful to keep that in mind. There's different kinds of stress that people experience when they're going through stuff, whether at work. One is called eustress, and it's also called good stress. And good stress is the stuff that keeps you that's why you show up at work, because I need to put food on my table, I need to have a place to live. So that's just enough of something that makes me do something that it's very productive. But when you get into distress is when you're like overwhelmed by stress and you're having physical reactions. And that's what you don't want to do with this. I mean, you guys are going into this, it's going to be different. So will some of your other courses. So a few things to keep in mind, and this is just kind of quick. You've heard some of this, maybe some of you haven't heard. But one of the first things, you're going to be going into this, like I'm thinking about, like, say, the 9th grade world history course, you got into some pretty heavy reading and some pretty heavy stuff there. This is going to be different. There's going to be terminology that's different. You're going to be trying to read a sentence and understand, what does that really mean in terms of process? So for a lot of people, and particularly people who can read well, which all of you guys can do, a lot of times they think, well, just because I've read it and the print has gone into my eyes, into my brain, then that's enough. And that's not really enough, particularly in a course like this. So what you need to do is go through, when you're reading this material, first of all, you need to be asking yourself, do I understand what's being said here? And if you don't, figure out how to understand that. The other thing is to anticipate your questions. What will I be asked about this? To me, it's one of the best study methods that I've ever seen. As you're going through and you're reading, just write down, or put it in a Google Doc or whatever, just write down the questions that you expect to be asked, say on a test or a quiz for this. And then you've got your study guide ready to go if you've got that. So that's a very helpful process. You can, as you're going through, and then you kind of know. And then if there's something you don't understand, that one you can set aside and ask your teacher, or see if you can go out and find other resources. This is a big deal. One of the things that's going to happen in this class, and you've experienced in some of your other stuff, but you're going to have multiple kind of layers of assignments. You're going to have projects and experiments that are going to be going on. You're going to have tests and quizzes. You're going to have other things, and then you actually have lives outside of this class as well. So making a plan and sticking to it as much as possible is huge. I'm a big advocate for using Google Calendar. I'm a big advocate for, if you've got a big due date, make sure that you're putting some of your own dates ahead of time to kind of check that list off ahead of time, because otherwise you're going to get up to the last couple of days and your workload is going to look like this. And I'll get calls from parents, oh, my kids got so much workload, they had to do 8 hours of homework last night. Like, no, they shouldn't have had to do 8 hours of homework. They should never have to do 8 hours of homework. Well, it turns out they had an assignment for 2 weeks that so basically they're doing 2 weeks of an assignment in one night. That's 8 hours of homework. Yeah. If you space that over, several weeks, you're in much better shape. So make sure you have a game plan. That's a huge thing. Eat the elephant one bite at a time. Does anybody know what that means? Anybody heard that one before? How do you eat an elephant? Somebody puts an elephant in front of you and says, you got to eat this thing. And you're looking at it and go, how do I do that? You do it one bite at a time, right? So what this means, if you look at, like, say, procrastination and strategies for dealing with procrastination, and I know nobody here procrastinates, right? I procrastinate all the time. But here's the deal. With procrastination, not a time management problem. It is not a issue of managing your time. It's an issue of having the willpower to get something done. And whether or not it's, would I rather be doing something fun and playing on my phone or whatever, or do I want to be doing this work? If you start one bite at a time, you say, look, I'm just going to write I'm going to answer the first question in my homework. That's it, just the first question. Or I'm going to write the topic sentence for my paper. Chances are pretty good, if you look at the research on this, you will get more than that done at that sitting. If you can just get that first piece, the very first thing, always the toughest hurdle. So if you come up to that assignment and you go, I need to get this done, just think in terms of just getting the very first little part done, and the rest of it will start flowing from there. Communicate. If you look at the research on why students drop out of college, or what happens with students who drop out of college, one of the biggest things is students who tend to drop out of college never had direct communication with any of their professors. Now, a lot of people I don't want to bother my professor. What if they get mad at me? What if they give me an answer I don't like? But, if you're not communicating, you're not going to be helped when you need help. You're not going to get clarification when you need that kind of clarification. You've got a great network, and every one of your teachers in this program are willing to work with you on this basis. Send up a flare. We don't mind, and I say any of us don't mind getting emails, having you come in person and say, I need help with this, or just, I don't know how, I'm struggling with this because I've got your work, I've got 3 other classes that I'm taking that are really pretty intensive. How do I manage all this? Teachers are willing to help with that. So they're not going to get angry with you for asking. They're not going to be upset. You need to do that. And a lot of people are very reluctant to do that. If you can get into this habit, it will help you be successful. Disconnect. If we're talking about stress, this is one of the most stress-producing things ever in the history of the universe. It's also one of the most wonderful things. But you got to know when this or your computer is causing that kind of stress. So there's studies out there that show just having your phone on the table in front of you actually impairs your ability to process information. Just having it right there. So how do you get in the habit when you really need to tackle this stuff? And you guys are sitting there looking at some of these concepts earlier. I mean, you've got, some complicated processes, math, all kinds of stuff going along with this class and some of your other classes. When you're studying, if this thing is here, you are dumber, and that will stress you out. Not only will that stress you out, just the fact that it impairs your ability to think and process this stuff, you've probably also got some drama going on in there too. A lot of people do. And that drama is going to mess with your head too. So find a place and a time and a way to put this thing away when you are trying to really concentrate and learn. And you'll find that not only will it help you learn it better, but it will actually help you with those stress levels when you're approaching stuff like that. And finally, and this is huge, I actually was down at Maggie Walker Governor's School earlier this year. Anybody familiar with Maggie Walker? I know anybody from probably heard, because there's some Goochland students over there. Maggie Walker requires somewhere in the ballpark of about, I think it's about 25 to 28 AP courses for their students over the course of time in high school. That's a lot. they're under a lot of academic stress. So one of the things they've really started doing is working with students on kind of self-management and stress management stuff. And so they're doing a lot about just personal awareness. When you find yourself and you're getting uptight, when you think, okay, I'm hitting that level of distress, I can feel it, I'm kind of, I'm getting tight, physically tight, and I'm worried, and I'm afraid if I get a C on this test, I will never get into the University of Virginia. That's my only goal in life. That's the time to go, okay, I got to disengage from this. Find something to concentrate on. And by that, I mean something just even, an image that you like, a picture, one of the things they teach students at Maggie Walker is just to take your pencil or pen and just really focus on it for just a couple of minutes. Breathe, smile, because when you smile, your body thinks you're happy, even if you're not, right? That's actual science. Just take a minute and focus, concentrate. If you can take a mental timeout, find techniques like that that help you to breathe, smile, relax, focus on something very specific and concrete for just a couple of minutes. When you come back to it, your head's going to be clear, your stress level is going to be down, your body's going to be in better shape, and you're going to be more ready to do the things that you need to do. So this is like a lot of information that's like really easy to say and really easy to hear, not so easy to do. Part of this deal, kind of coming back to this first thing, what are we hoping you will do? We hope you come out of this course with not only a lot of knowledge of biology and biological processes, but also how to manage this kind of information. And we know that you will. Right? You need to kind of work through this. It won't just happen because it's going to happen because I'm smart and everything's always happened really well for me. This is a place where you're going to have to start taking an active role in how do I approach my academics? How do I approach my own personal, well-being in terms of stress and stress management and stuff like that? And anything you can do that will help get you better in that respect is going to help you in the long run, not only in high school, but when you hit college and the work environment as well. So with that said, we're going to get back into the actual biology stuff. So just kind of keep this stuff in mind. Ms. Dexter, you need me to set you up here, or is it, this doesn't have any... Okay. Okay.
Only need this, something to write with, and the lovely people sitting at the table with me. So you can the front books back, your toes away.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Yep. All yours.
They all have different things in it. One of you will win a car. No. No.
Suddenly I'm a little interested.
Yeah, if I had that kind of mind, Scott, I'd be teaching. It's like, you have a car, you have a car, you no. All right. So while we're getting the timer set up, a little bit of background. So at the end of all of this, you take that lovely thing called the AP Biology exam. They are changing it this year. It will be different than the previous years. And in some ways, it's going to be nicer to you in some respects. Like the math part, there used to be a specific math section, is no longer part of the test. So you have 60 multiple choice questions that you will have an hour and a half to complete. You're like, oh, that's easy, until you realize that sometimes one multiple choice question might have 2 pages of data before you hit the question. All right. And then the second part are called the FRQs, free response questions. There used to be 8. You will have 6. 2 of them are what are called the long FRQs. They'll be worth 10 points each. And then there is 4 other ones that are shorter. I looked, they don't have how they're weighted yet, but 50% of your test is a multiple choice. 50% is writing a science essay, which is very different than writing an English essay. This is something I started doing with my students, and I actually had kids request this past year. They're like, Ms. Dexter, I think we should do that in the beginning because, yeah, our FRQs just rocked us. So when we talked about stress level, you guys all know how AP scores are graded? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3, 4, and 5 are passing. A 5, which is usually about like a 65% on a test. So some of you or all of you might get a 40 on your first test, and that's phenomenal. That is an excellent start. How many of you are going to cry if you take a 40 home to mom and dad? You might not even go home to mom and dad because you have a 40, right? So that's why we have to also kind of prepare you to take this test. There is so much other stuff we do in this class that if you pulled 40s all year, you can still get that A. It is still achievable. It's still achievable and not at the expense of you getting Fs in all your other classes. It's totally possible. But in terms of the test, you're going to get scores you haven't gotten before. And that's okay. Because what did I just say a 5 was? About a 65% on a test. And this year, only 20% of the 20,000 kids that took it got that. Yeah, so don't like beat yourself up. So one of the things is that essay part that we're talking about, the FRQs. They are going to be based on the ability to do science, to practice it, to do math, to show your data, and also what is your biology knowledge. So what we are going to do is we're going to practice the pressure cooker, right? You have an hour and a half to do those essays. No, we're not going to do an hour and a half test now. I'm not doing that to you. But we are going to practice some skills you want to use when you're taking an FRQ while a clock is ticking away. The brain power you have is the brain power that's at the table with you right now. So right now, I want you to pick one person in your group to be the scribe. That means the person that has handwriting that we might be able to read later. We need a person who is keeping an eyeball in this general direction to be like, oh my God, we only have 30 seconds left. Panic, panic, panic. No, I'm just kidding. And then the other 2 people, this is very important. You are the organizational piece. This is why this is important. The information that is in here are released FRQ items. We contractually sign that we always have control over these. And if we don't, it invalidates the scores. So should you walk out of the room with any pieces of paper, you potentially are negating your scores for your school, not just for biology, for calculus. Go tell that math teacher you just lost all their scores. Go just tell the English teacher you just got all their scores negated. You guys feel the pressure on that one? So you 2 other people or one other person organizing, you got to make sure all those papers get back in here. Otherwise, we will feed you to the other departments when I'm like, your scores don't count next year because you took all the papers with you. Okay? That's really, really important. So the most pressure job are the other 2 that didn't volunteer to write and didn't volunteer to be timekeepers. All right. So what I want you to do first is take the top folder that says FRQ folder and pull out the papers that are in it. Just so that I can see. All right, so there's that lovely formula sheet. Okay. So you need to pull out the formula sheet, and then the person who's writing, you should have the sheet in front of you that says long FRQ practice activity. There's also scrap paper in there if you have to take notes or whatever. All right, I'm going to explain what we're going to do. Then we'll set it up. Then we'll start the timer. The first timer is going to be for 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Okay, so pick up long FRQ, folder 1. This is going to be an example of a long FRQ question. I specifically picked questions that have to do with scientific investigation. They shouldn't require a lot of prior knowledge, except like, do you know how to graph? Do you know how to figure out what the independent, dependent variable is? You might have to do a little standard deviation. We are going to spend about 9 minutes on this part. This is what you should do when you're taking the test. Like strategies. So if a word in your question is in bold, should you pay attention to it? Should you make sure you answer it? Yeah, so if it says explain and justify, what do you need to do? Explain and justify, and opposed to English where you're like, the flowers are beautiful because they're purple and blah, blah, blah. My explanation is, I justify this with. Use their words, no fluff. Yeah, you don't want them to get bored. Go straight to the point, answer the question, no extra stuff. If you're like, oh my God, that was horrible, don't spaz and like scratch it all out. Singular line. If there's an A, B, and C, make sure it's A and then it's your response for A. The reader should not have to look back at your response in A to understand your B. Follow what I'm saying? They need to be independently, because what happens, a bunch of crazy people sign a week of their summer away to read 8,000 of these and grade them. Okay, so you want to make sure when they're like 400 in, they still understand what you're talking about. So be very, very clear. So if it's bold and underlined, make sure you did that. This one kills me. If it says bar graph, should you be making a line graph? Those are the things to pay attention to. All right, so open that. There are 4 copies. You are going to take 2 minutes to read the FRQ. You're solely just reading it. On your marks, get set, go. You're just reading it. If you need to write on it, you can write on it, or you can make notes, but you're just reading. Pay attention to what you're supposed to be answering. These are all the folders. If you want to set, there's that over there too. If you want to keep one. Yeah, I tried to pick ones that were just didn't like pull too much like of the biology. It's gonna make a noise. All right, you have to make a noise. If it doesn't make a noise. 'Some kid heart attack. Probably me. Kids, you're making people. I hope you all enjoyed that. They have a timer in their group to do that. They're probably reading. All right. The person that is writing, we are now going to take the next 7 minutes. I want you to brainstorm what your response would be. It can be from what the exact answer was to, hey, did you notice the bold word this? Or did you notice it said bar graph? What do you notice? What kind of information? So now on that, person who's writing, just write down as much as you hear. Don't worry about whether it's right. Don't be OCD. Is it lined up correctly in the box? Did I do? Write down everything that you're hearing. So with your table, take 7 minutes and brainstorm about that question. What would you put? What do you need to make sure that you did? So 3, 2, 1, go. What? Yeah, it's one I usually use. It makes noise, and you can change the noises. So, I changed it to something that, and I didn't realize how like Pavlov dog. I trained my kids. They kept working, and I was like, the buzzer went off, and they were like, "What was that noise?" Like, they didn't recognize a different chime. Like, yeah. I actually one time, and I don't. We were so focused in a lab, I didn't hear the fire alarm go off, and I turned around, the fire marshal's standing in my door, like, "You're supposed to be out of the building," and I was like, "Why?" And I was like, "Oh." I was not a good day for Miss Dexter. I thought you needed a break. No, in my forensic science class this year, one of the soil density test thing, so cool, but the chemicals that have to be used to do it, so toxic. They're all part of the chloroform family. So we had to do it on the fume hood. You know what I discovered? Our fume hood didn't work. It's because I'm out in the hall and I'm like, why am I smelling this all the way down the hall? And I didn't think it was mine because I thought, so I'm like tracking that smell, you know, trying to know what's that smell? Like, do we need to evacuate? And I follow it right into the room and I'm like, stop. You know, and then we closed it and then I was just like, maintenance. And I love our maintenance guys, but unless they feel the urgency, they don't have the urgency. And I was like, students will pass out. It was fixed by then.
It also says to identify an appropriate duration of the experiment. So like say how long, that means how long it'll take, right? Yeah. Well, so we have to decide that
Nice. You guys are really quiet. Share whatever you're thinking. Just share. She's going to write it all down. Good. Did you notice words are in bold? That's the first way to lose points. Because of that, rubric will say something like, did they justify? Did they do this? And sometimes you won't get any points if you didn't do both.
Just to try and figure out what was trying to. So why is it not halfway yet? Wouldn't 4:30 be halfway?
Oh, it was 7 minutes.
Oh, 7.
Yeah, it was 7.
The average? I was gonna say that you can just put
I feel like you guys melted over here. Maybe we should put her in the middle if she's writing. He's got all this knowledge he's giving and it's not making it over there. Right? This is also good practice at group work because these might be the people you have to do your second semester project with. Get to know each other.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, so would you say like within as you're pacing it based on the sample, that's what you have. That's what you
Nobody's putting that they know what a trichome is. Did you just snort at me? You snorted at a trichome. Guess what? It's all over the Arabidopsis plant, so you'll learn all about them first semester.
Yeah, I like to know about this stuff. I just don't.
There are little hairs on the leaf that indicate health.
Are we gonna work on the summer today?
We're going to try. We're trying to budget for that. We might do, instead of the review game, do some packet time.
We're not. There's different variables.
If you want, you could sketch out what the graph would look like. Think about the graph. What should be on a graph? What's a good science graph got on it? It has numbers. Do you hear them? Good. Don't write in Arabic. It gets confusing.
No, but it has a increasing thing on the side. The y-axis has
A scale?
yes. Maybe I don't know.
Well, what would they be? What would be on your x-axis in this? What would be on your y-axis? That's where a lot of kids lose points. They graph this wrong. Yeah, kind of set up what your, if you got time, set up what your graph would look like, because that's part of the grade that you're getting on the rubric is what your graph look like. Awesome. I made a joke. I said, don't startle me. I've had kids on my pee. That'll be a little gem for them in there.
Like how many of the plants? Yeah.
25 seconds. That's a good question. Like that's why you'll learn this, but that's something to think about. Like if there are terms you don't know, you want to make sure, like maybe give them an extra couple minutes or whatever, or seconds. It's all timed, but you want to be confident in your data. So remember we talked about chi-square. I'm 95% confident that the data I collected was good, so I can draw a conclusion from it. You want a high confidence level. All right, so keep your worksheet where you put like you guys' thoughts and your brainstorming. Put the FRQs back into the long FRQ folder number 1. And move it to the side. We're done with that folder. So keep your brainstorming out. Put this back into the folder. And then put it to the side. The next one's going to be 3 minutes. All right. In the long FRQ folder number 2, on the left side are the actual scoring guidelines on how they scored the responses. We're going to take 3 minutes. I want you to score yourself. So look at what you guys brainstormed. What score would you have gotten if you turned that in as an essay? So pass out the ones on the left. Ready, set, go. So the actual scoring guidelines, how would you have done? You should be proud if you have like 2 out of 10 points. So you weren't going to draw a bar graph? Okay, good thing. Yes, write on what you need to write on. You gotten a point yet? Maybe. All right. You guys got a point? You have at least a point? I love all these.
Oh yeah. Definitely the one I was talking about. Yeah.
Did you guys get any points? Nice. Good job. Hey, that's good. When we talk about FRQs, usually on the 10-point questions, the national average is 2 or 3. Yeah, so not bad. One year, the short FRQs, 60% of the kids got points on it. So don't beat yourself up. Maybe. How many of you guys just kind of squeeze that little bit of a point out by stretching? Yeah. That's what I meant. All right, so the next one's 12 minutes. All right, 20 seconds. The highest number I've heard is 5. Before. Well, actually, there's a paper where they fill that out, so we'll. Yeah. Well, I've always done this at the end, but like I said, a group this year was like, you should do it at the beginning. All right, that's time. All right, show of hands. How many got a 1? At least. All right, let's do it this way so we all feel good about it. Everybody get at least 1? Yeah. 2? 3? Still got hands up. 4? Did we just uncommit to 4, or would it have? You don't know. Okay, so you're like squeezing it. Let's point out. All right. Now on that right side of the folder are 3 samples of essays that were turned in that year. So you still need the scoring rubric, and now you need the one from the right, the 3 student samples. Give them a score. What would they have received if you were their grader on their essay? You'll get 12 minutes for this. What score would you give them? Yeah, welcome to him. Yes, they're all the same.
Okay.
All right, so everybody should have a copy. So you should have a scoring rubric and 3 sample responses, A, B, and C. They're all stapled together. You're good. And we've already started, so you're 13 seconds in. That's their response. You're getting to see 3 responses. Things you're noticing. You need to be legible when you write. Yeah, you can write on wherever your notes, and then there's a document where we'll enter scores in a minute. No. You should get 3 different scores. One of them is good. Okay, one of them is not. So you know how we had to review things, and I got asked if we could do packet. Are you okay with that? Yeah. I'll just tell them I have 2 online that review the terms if they want to play them, and then.
And there's extra.
In the brown folder. Purple folder. Yeah, that one. No, you're not comparing. You're grading A, B, grading C. Like, what score would they get? They are not equivalent in quality. Yeah, if it goes into B, yeah, see, A, B, C. It's 3 different ones, A, B, and C. So remember that when you were writing yours.
It's smart. It looks like George Washington. I skipped the first one. I don't think anybody actually writes this.
Well, that person did. These are
This next one is
about as much as you get paid teacher.
wait,
No,
this is a
they go to Kansas for a weekend, work for like 8 hours for
Okay.
5 straight days just
Now I
reading.
can't tell if this one or that one is right. I don't think this one's right. Based on standard.
Well, some teachers are like, it's an honor. I'm like, so
Is this like the mean? Like, what is that right there?
so this is the numbers up the side. There's their data point. There's their error bars.
So is this the range?
So that's the standard error from there. So it's the standard. So they're showing you. Guess what? You will this year. No, I won't see it.
Yeah. Okay, so 3 points. I don't know what those things.
It looks like that. See the dot? Standard error bar.
Oh, so they had. So like what do you think is the standard error?
So you have what you got as your data, and then what's the range of the data could have been in. What is the amount of error that was acceptable?
So
Don't worry, you will know by the end. That's why it's. They did a line graph. That's their graph. They just didn't connect the dots.
Okay, the next one has a
Do you have a question, or you just? It's not a good idea because if you think about hands going across pencil while they're grading you, it'll smudge. So you'll want to use. I would use a blue or black pen. Yeah. Because just think, because they're stacked with 800 other things of paper rubbing.
and they have the stamps.
So I made the comment that we could use these from year to year, but they're writing all over them. So,
They're writing.
which is fine. I'd rather them do that. But it was just kind of like. You'll go through them? That's awesome. Thanks. Brandy is an awesome teacher. If you have her, she's totally willing to organize everything for you. That's Madison's teacher, in case you don't know.
C describe the end of 12.
We're slotted for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but Nick and I went ahead and did something a couple weeks ago, so that hopefully it'll just be Monday, Tuesday.
That's what whenever I was like counting hours, I was like, maybe it will be.
Yes, sir. Well, it's showing you like a range, so you can like see what they're looking for and what they're not looking for. Yes.
So on where it says like this, the SEMs and everything, where would that? Maybe it doesn't have it, but like, where would I see that on?
It should be on the graph, for instance. So you see it right here. So one standard error would have been like, so say the number was 9,
Mhm.
one standard error would have been 10, right? But it says it wants 2 SEMs. So that's why it goes 2 above and 2 below. So
Oh,
this is
that
what it would
does
look
show
like.
it.
So this should have a bar for the bar graph
Well, yeah.
and have that on top of the bar graph.
Okay, but that does technically show it.
Right. Yes, it does show that. And that's one of the ways they trip you up because notice it says 2. So you have to make sure you
So
go
then,
2.
like, on these ones,
They don't have it.
it doesn't show it, and then on this one,
Yeah, they don't show it on that one either. So the only one that shows it, but they didn't do the bar graph.
Okay.
But that doesn't take into consideration, does it? It does. That takes into consideration both sides, I think.
Which one are you trying to?
Does this take into consideration the SEM?
No.
It doesn't.
The only one that actually shows that is the first one.
But that's not a bar graph.
So they don't get all of it.
Okay.
But here's the thing. So if you look at the standard error mean is 1, then if they had only done 1, it would have been here. But it said in the question they wanted 2.
Right.
So it goes up 2. So that's where kids lost points that year too, because they showed the standard error, but they only showed 1, and down here, so they wanted 2 standard errors.
Okay.
Standard error measurement.
That just means like
That's it. That this is the data point we got, but this is the range it could have been within to be acceptable.
Oh no, this is no true no. So basically they would be.
You can't read it, or you do have a question. You can ask questions.
What is it saying here? Plant population 1 is most likely to.
Have significant differences.
That's have?
Yeah,
That's have.
teaching 20 years, learn how to read some of those words. And I'm looking at that, and that's so much neater than some of the things I get turned in. Whew. Yep.
If somebody did that, I'd have to give them props just for learning the entire.
Is it curriculum? One. I only got one.
because what they're
Yeah. I don't think they got. No, it's okay. The standard error one is on, which is in that question, is on the. I don't know if that's the case in all of them. Yeah, that's all good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. In the original folder, there's a paper that looks like this. Put A, B, and C, and put what score your group gave A, B, and C. Say that again, sorry. It's out of 10. It's out of 10. So A, B, and C, how many points did you give them? Yeah, so A, B, C, and then what score did you give them? Yeah.
So what do you guys think our scores were? I can't remember.
So yeah, right there. What do you
It's
click?
It's out of
Out of 10. Out of 10. A, B, C, and what score you gave each one. So like, what would the three of you give an A? So you write A here, and then what's the score they got out of 10? right, so while you're writing that down, organizer of folders. Reassemble folder 2. So return it to look like this. Please God, don't.
Can we put these away?
No, hold on to this for now. All right, now open long FRQ folder number 3, and those are the actual scores those kids received that year. So compare them. So it goes yes. So compare them to what you gave them. Are you mean or are you nice? So if you need to know what folder 2 looks like, here it is again. So whoever's organizing is what folder 2 should look like.
So I just have to write stuff on it. That's the other two. Yeah, so 2 were pretty accurate.
All right, so when you're done with folder 3, take your long FRQ pile, move it to the side. Will you go grab all the long FRQ? So they're, yeah, long FRQ. Keep the FRQ this folder. Keep this. They're going to come around and get your long FRQ 1, 2, and 3. Yes, hold on to that stuff for now. So you keep these if you're looking at what to keep. But we're getting everything else, yes. Can I borrow yours to go around? And this is what you're keeping. So keep these, keep these, keep these. We're going to put it to the side in a second. Yeah. That's the formula sheet. Keep that. Don't yet. Not yet. So you should have a folder that says FRQ. You keep this and the contents that were in it and these 2 things. Yeah, everybody only got one of those. Yeah.
No, we couldn't. Other than the first one, that's just because we
Not a nice person.
didn't read it. So we just kind of went with
All right. All right, so now you need to pull out of that folder the one that says short FRQ practice activity. Pull this one out, and for this is a little crazy, go ahead and put the long one in. So put the long one back in, take the short one out.
They still need this one.
Yes. So you should have this out. Sorry. All right. So next one is 2 minutes. All right. So short FRQs obviously mean they require what? Shorter time. Supposedly, I've had kids tell me the short FRQs took them longer than the FRQs, but for the pressure of today, we're going to treat them like it takes shorter. When you open the folder, there are 2 FRQs in it. You will have 2 minutes to read both of those. 2 minutes. So go ahead and pass this out. Give everybody one of these. You're going to read both of them. You will get 2 minutes to read both of them. So you are in the wrong folder. You should be in folder 1. Make sure you're in folder 1. Yeah. Short FRQ folder 1. And game on. Yes. So you should have 2, one about suburban development and one about P. or fluid ingestion? Next one's going to be 3.5 minutes. I had weird kids. I got a label maker that year. I don't know why, but chicken came up at least once a week. So chicken is cute.
She had kids that lived on the floor, so they kept putting the hashtag homeless like all over her room.
I can't believe her kids are off to college. I remember sitting in her cabin with her doing grad school work. All right, that is time. So everybody pull in front of you the one that says new suburban development number 3. You're going to get 3.5 minutes. Brainstorm in that top box. All the things that you think need to be put, what you noticed, and go.
Maybe we're number 100.
Can you do a cell phone Game Boy kind of thing simple for me?
Is it the one right in front of us?
And then the animal community is also going to be impacted.
Thank you for saying that.
But it's going to be impacted by the food, right?
Kids missed points one year because they only did plants, or they only did animals.
Oh, interesting.
Nope. You're just on suburban for 3.5 minutes.
So all the way up to the next one. Also, animals might leave the area, but we don't. We're actually doing too much work because we only need one logical consequence each. So we need to choose one for the plant and choose one.
I really know my time with the animals because they're literally like they're like taking away like trees, and a certain area takes away the nutrients from the soil. Okay. So for A, going back to A. Justify your prediction.
Yeah, we have to just.
Very neat handwriting.
You have to have. We have to run trails.
The local plant communities, then like saw all the local plants. If there's less plants, then and then we have to
All right, that is time. You now have 3.5 minutes with the urine. Game on.
And then if we're getting nothing, well, I think like those words together.
Yeah, you have 3.5 minutes to pee. Go. So the next increments are 2 and 2. The next set is 2 minutes and 2 minutes. So there's, after this, it's 16 minutes, with give or take a little bit. Yeah. I think that's why one of the kids said that it was really helpful to brainstorm in the beginning, is because other people might come up with ideas or notice things you didn't. So when you think about this and then going over the terms, like if you see justify, what does it mean to justify a response? What does this mean? Like this, the suburban question, it talks about doing one example on plants and one example on animals. And these kids wrote these like wonderful essays that year on plants or animals. They didn't do both. So a lot of kids didn't get the points that year because they didn't even follow the directions. And that one was number 7. So you're getting like towards the end, and like just sloppiness kind of happen at the end too, which is what's kind of nice that they've cut. Now it's 6 questions, and it's 60 multiple choice instead of 63 and 6 math questions. But there's emphasis all through the curriculum thing about statistically understanding data. So I guarantee you those grid-ins didn't go away. They just became either part of the FRQs and or part of the multiple choice. They're going to have to do like a chi-square problem in the multiple choice and get something. Yeah. Valves is also now the use of the graphing calculator. Yay. Are they going to expect to crunch a set of data for standard deviation? Because there's a program on the, and I will have to go teach myself how to, and it just says graphing calculator. It doesn't specify TI-80 5000 or whatever they're up to at this point. So
She ended up getting like the 2, and then she took it again through third and
right. All right, so let's return folder number 1 to what folder number 1 looks like. Number 3 matches A, number 7 matches B. No. 3 is with A. Yeah, 7 is with B. If you need a visual, coming around with a visual. 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 If you need a visual. All right, and then move that one to the side. All right, in folder number 2, A goes with A and B goes with B. I know it's confusing. All right, so pull out A. You will have 2 minutes. How well did you do? What score would you have gotten? So A goes with the first one that we're doing. A goes with ecological. And let's go. The left side is the one you're looking at. It's the top box you filled out. How did you do or not do? Oh, not this. You're not here yet. Not here yet. Yeah. Just, yeah. That's all good.
We started doing good.
Yeah, just pull out the grading rubric. Yep. How did you do?
And what did we say?
And this one would have been out of 3 points. So. Did we justify it good? We done good.
By ingestion or exposure. And can they be in the groundwater?
So looking on the left, if that's the choice you picked, those should be the answers that should have been your response. It's not a mix and match. What you picked on the left, your options of correct answers are on the right. So if you said harm, then you had to put one of the 3 bullets on the right. Can't mix and match the lines. You understand what I'm saying? Like, whatever your reason is, these were your answers. Whoop. All right, switch. Pull out the grading rubrics for B. So for B, which is on the right side of the folder, pick the scoring guidelines. Let's see how you did on that one. Ready, go. Win.
Oh yeah.
Win.
Yeah, I'll take
How does that
yeah, we did that. Yeah, we did get our heads on
Alcohol, yeah.
Okay. Question 7.
Where are you confused?
Because we have these out.
So you should have, if you're on side B, oh my gosh. This is what you're looking at. Like, how did you do? How did you do? How did? All right, you two share that one. You two share that one. Somehow there's 2 other ones somewhere else. You have one. Then you have one. You have 2. You have 2. All right, there we go. Now you each have one. There you go. How did you do? Yes, how did you guys do?
Oh yeah, we got this. We did that. I'm just like, oh.
All right, so in terms of the suburban question, number 3, the maximum amount of points you got was 4. Did anyone get 4? We got some 4s, 3. Everybody got at least 1. On the question about P, that was worth 3 points. Did we get 3-pointers? At least get 1. All right, so now you're going to have 6 minutes. I think some people need some organization, so I'll say this slowly since I see some chaos on some tables. You want the scoring guidelines for question number 3, and you want the student responses for number 3, all about ecological consequences. You're going to get 6 minutes like you did before. Evaluate the 3 sample students in terms of what score they could get. The max is for that one is 4 points. Go ahead. Yeah. So it's A, B, and C. So now you're on the ecological one. Yeah, no P yet. You gotta hold the bladder.
We're just using ones you'll have to organize.
That's a lot of pressure on the 2 of you. You gotta like sit uncomfortably close to people to do that. I think he wants to respect your personal space.
Yeah, that's the. We're not grading now.
Yeah, it's not grammar.
Yeah.
It's not grammar. Are they keeping their name tags? Yeah. Because I was gonna say, if not, we could say, put all your papers back into this and stick your name tag in there, and then we would know the 4 kids or the 3 kids that were in the group. I don't know what those numbers are on some of them.
I told her she could take except for her class.
Name tags.
No, yeah, that's no name tag number. Yeah, name
So what I'm going to tell them is to put the green piece into a folder, and then we'll know which kids the work is from which group.
Okay, as long as I get it back.
Yeah, we'll get them to give you back these, but I'm gonna have that way. Well, like these 4 kids did this work.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That'll be the most challenging part of this thing. I know. I know. I got it. I got it. No, I got it. So you want them to keep the name tags. Now you're messing me up. That's fine. That's separate than what I will have to put their names on the paper then. I will let. We got it. I'm not going to make it part of this because then it would get confusing. Yeah, remember, if they're answering part A or answering part B, you should not have to refer back to another piece. So if A is supposed to be about plants, if they answered anything about plants in B, that does not apply back to A. Oh, then they definitely got no points. That makes that easy. Or they might not have. So that's a tip to take home. Label your parts A and B. They may have just rolled it all into one, which could so it's probably there.
0.
4 days, 8-hour days. And they have a table that just grades one question. So they read, 20,000 kids took the test this year? I don't like grading 16 of them.
Okay, dust and shower.
So if you find yourself done, go ahead and fill out that paper where you have the short FRQ A, B, and C, what scores you would give them.
There's only one student response for it's only one student response.
A, B, C. There's 3 different responses.
Okay. So this is
I thought it was all one person.
Yep. Nope, not all one person.
They had the same handwriting.
Yeah, there you go.
That's me up. Okay.
All right. So those of you that are OCD, put all of that back in the folder so you don't confuse it with number 7. You want to get it out of the way so there's less paper. So now what you're going to look at is 3 samples from kids that answered number 7, which is on the B side, compared to the rubric. What scores would they have received? Are we good? So this one's going to be out of 3 points. You could have achieved 3 points. All right, game on. Oh, that's a lot of stuff going on in here. All right, so that's definitely just 3. Let's make sure nothing's okay. Suburban. Can you grab them some short FRQ folder? Nope, they're not in there. Folder number 1, or did they end up? Hold on. Nope, they're right here.
Oh, okay. You have to put. I have no idea how that happens. Yeah, let's put these.
You focus on that.
How many papers?
Okay, so this should just be the questions. So 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, here's one more.
All right.
I guess. Yeah, they said alcohol. Or a concentrated solution of ethyl alcohol, 5% or urine. What does that say? Why is there 2 lines?
We already did this one.
This is the one they're doing right now.
We already did
7
that.
liters.
You already did the urine one? Did you divide and conquer? Is that what you guys did that? Why they didn't? Okay. Well, then here, I'll let you put it back in the folder.
Wait. Is that one of the?
We already had the divide and conquer. We did one FRQ on groups doing the other. Yeah. Already. You know that for second semester project. There is not. It is all group.
How are the different outputs?
Okay, so how, like, whether it's little or more,
the amount of urine they can ingest depending on how much they urinate. It doesn't exist.
you're right. I'm saying that the
Yeah, so different levels of alcohol.
That's a good group.
Yeah, it's basically like saying
okay, they're all like, yeah,
We gave them a
2.78.
We gave that because they had the question.
Just know, you know, when the actual scores are never there. There's no halves, there's no 0.78s, there's no, it's just, then they won't give them credit. Yep. Yep. Yeah, if there's, you will learn through the course of the year that a lot of times it is. It's just like, or like I have a kid that should have just said natural selection, right? And they write me this like 5-sentence thing describing natural selection, but the rubric says they had to say what? Natural selection. That's why we practice these. All right, everybody looks good at a stopping point. Hopefully I'm not breaking anyone's hearts, closing you 20 seconds early. All right, so organize that folder. A side is going to be the suburban development. In the front is the key scoring guidelines. Behind that is the student responses. On the right side is B, which is question 7. In the front are the questions. In the back are the student responses. When you do that and you've closed that, open number 3 and see how accurate you were or weren't. Oh, that's not a timer. So you're the harsh grader. Got it. Yeah, this one was 4 points. This one was 3 points.
oh yeah, that's right. What about the first one?
This one up here is out of 10. And I think it was 10.86. Yeah. All right, so the last piece of organizational and the one that says FRQ folder. You need to have your brainstorming and this sheet, and on one of those pieces of paper, you need to have all of your group member names. First and last, please. All right. Do you want to get those and you get those? So we will come around and grab folders two things. There are on the classroom, I've posted 2 other like GIM kits that are reviews of words you see in FRQs, which are the bold and underline. What do they mean? What are they asking you to do? And then one that has laboratory investigations. You are in a science class. We haven't gotten the lab manual yet. Like I said, they changed the new curriculum. We're supposed to be getting it August. Last year, there were 13 required labs. We're going to go with there's 13. Those will be part of the multiple choice, and the FRQs also, like results you should expect versus observe, which sounds like I might do chi-square statistics with. There's some of that practice. There has been a request, so we're going to go ahead and do this instead. That people wanted some packet time. So you could ask some questions. Maybe if you want to go ahead and do those Hardy-Weinberg ones. If you do not have your packet with you, we have extras. So that, guys, gives you about 37 minutes because we're going till 3. Work on your packets. If you have questions, you can ask us. Key thing, take-home message. It is not a typed experience. Your teacher will not accept a typed version of this. It is to be in your lovely, beautiful Shakespearean handwriting. It makes you do the work. So if you're somebody who's been typing, you probably need to spend the next couple weeks converting it back into old-fashioned. You need to write it. So there's no digital form of this is accepted. So if you need a copy of the packet, raise your hand. I'll bring it around. Feel free to work on the Hardy-Weinberg or answer some of the questions. You can talk to the people next to you. All right. So raise that hand really high if you need a packet. Anybody else need a packet? There you go. Anybody else need a packet? Then you can chillax. Okay, you know what that means. You get to join the next couple weeks while other people are probably going like, oh God, I got to start.
Starting off trying to start the summer work. It's not the last Did you get my text? Yeah. Ricky, you're so fast. I was seeing you. I do pictures too. Why? Look at this. Look. DNA and like chromatin.
I didn't look at the summer packet because I offered another one to my kids. This is bullshit. I'm sorry. Like they took out the sample Hardy-Weinberg. Yeah, they're not on here.
The Hardy-Weinberg on there?
No.
What?
Yeah, he took the problems off. Like the diagrams are gone.
I didn't even look at it because
I just assumed it was only a little bit that took off, and it's a lot taken off.
That ecology one was
Yeah.
I just assumed it was the same one.
I knew it was a little bit different because Nick and I had talked about it, but I mean, come here, look at this. This is. I mean, this is the one. To evolution, homologous versus analogous, which is huge. Like, there's the two Artie Weinberg problems. The macromolecules. Like, this is.
So yours is so nice. Mine's just
Yeah.
yeah. Look how I started with it.
None of that's on there.
That is so great. I did not know. Is this like a grade?
Test grade. No. It's not a completion grade. Now, how the teachers handle it is different. So what I do is I do completion, and then I pick random questions to see if they're right or wrong. But I also gave my kids a different packet. So. Well, no, I said that they could do that one, but if they did my packet, they could have extra credit. Yes.
Can you help me on this one? I have no idea what any of those words are.
All right. So we'll start off with restriction enzymes. Very simplistic. Those are the scissors that cut the DNA. So if I want everywhere that I have 32 G's followed by 5 A's and 3 T's, I want it to cut. I can make a restriction enzyme specific to that code, and it goes and cut those pieces out, which now leaves exposed DNA. So then why would I want to do that? That's, for instance, putting the human insulin genome into a bacteria genome and making the bacteria make the human insulin. That's why I would do that. Gel electrophoresis this is often used as like evolutionary or paternity. I take the DNA, I dump it into a gel, and when I run electricity through it, it causes the bands, because DNA has a negative charge, to move towards the positive end. The small pieces will go faster. The bigger pieces will kind of get stuck. It's like if you're trying to run through Jell-O, you're going to get through the Jell-O opposed to Shaquille O'Neal. So you would leave a different pattern. Every person has their own DNA fingerprint. But if I evolutionary, I'm going to be like, well, cytochrome C, what does it look like in a duck opposed to a swan opposed to a wren? I can run it through this thing. It will sort out by the DNA, and I end up with a banded pattern. You'll do one of those this year. Polymerase chain reaction is a really fancy way of saying a photocopier. So it used to be like a lot of times when, say, there was a crime, and I would go and I would collect the sample. You're becoming a murderer. Are you ready? So I found like 1 drop of blood. I run the test. I take you to court, and then you have a really good defense attorney who goes, I want to run that in my own lab. And I'm like, but I'm out of sample. She's off to murder another day. With PCR, in 72 hours, I can make millions of copies of that DNA. So yeah, here you go. Run it in your own lab. So I did that. Or if I'm trying to study a specific disease, I can make lots of copies to study and be able to run tests. And so how do we use all these to do recombinant DNA? Very simply, I'm combining DNA from 2 different organisms. So human insulin code, the genome, cut, bacteria, cut, put the pieces in, make lots and lots of copies, and now I have lots of bacteria that can make human insulin and make it way faster than me, so that could help a diabetic patient.
So you're just basically making more copies for 2 separate.
Yep.
Thank you.
Welcome. That works. We don't need it again. Oh. Conversation was on. But that's on there. Did you stop the video when we started doing the FRQ? No. So they're still recording doing. No, I had several kids ask me, I said, can we go over the packet? We had planned on doing a few games, so they could go over the packet. So